Everything was going very well. We were thriving. 2 children. Married. A business. And one day he started feeling unwell. He started vomiting, had headaches, and he decided to see a doctor. When he got there, the doctor said, "Look, get a test done. Since you've been experiencing these symptoms, get a test done." And he had an endoscopy. The doctor said, "Look, you have stomach cancer, and you have a 1% chance of surviving. I'm going to refer you. You can have the surgery here with me. But to increase your chances of survival, find a better specialist. Go to another city. Look for better technology." After talking with the doctor, we decided to go to Sao Paulo to look there, and we went to the Albert Einstein Hospital. When we got there, the doctor ordered all the tests again, and it was indeed stomach cancer. The doctor said, "Have surgery. Have robotic surgery. It's quick, safer, and you'll be discharged home in 15 days. So we decided to go ahead with the surgery. Everything went well, and I had already told the family we were leaving. That's when he started feeling unwell. He became very ill, and then he went into a coma. The surgery came undone. He had a hemorrhagic stroke, and then he was in a coma for 4 months. During that time, I was in the ICU with him. The doctor would perform the surgery, and he didn't understand why, because everything seemed to be going right, but it kept going wrong. So he would perform the surgery, close it up, and then it would reopen. The doctor was already giving up, saying, "I'm going to put these wires in to close it, so his abdomen won't open anymore." But when he least expected it, it would open. It wouldn't hold. And then feces started coming out of the surgery. Everything started to open. He was in the best hospital, Albert Einstein Hospital, with the best doctors. Doctors had even come from the United States to treat him, but without success. And he and the doctor, every time the doctor performed surgery that went wrong, he would say, "I'm going to turn off the machines. You've been here a long time, and nobody stays. Nobody stays in the hospital this long, so you should go home. Prepare your family. Prepare his family. Prepare the funeral, because it won't be worth it for you to be here." 6 months had already passed.
Did you live in the hospital?
Yes, I lived there. I left Alagoas, stayed in Sao Paulo with him, in the hospital, and only left the hospital to go to the Temple of Solomon to pray, and then returned to the hospital again. One day the doctor looked at me and said, "Look, this is the last surgery I'm going to do on him. If this surgery doesn't work, I won't do any more. I'll turn off the machines. Just wait for him to pass away. And you won't be able to stay here in the hospital anymore." Then I told him, "You're going to sign a waiver." I had already signed several, but this last one I said I would sign, and this will be the very last one. And I started campaigning on Tuesdays, and I started going to the altar. I participated in the first campaign of Israel when I was there, which was in December, before he had the surgery. So I went up to the altar, and that day I said to God, "God is not money. If you don't give him back to me, that's fine. I accept that your will be done, but give me the opportunity for him to be saved. I want his soul for you."
Why?
Because I was certain that if he died in the condition I knew him in, he wouldn't be saved. He wasn't living a life of obedience to God. And when he went to have the surgery, I told him, "Look, you're going to have this surgery and you might not come back. So get your life right with God. Because if you don't come back, your soul is at stake." And the doctor performed the surgery, and I left the altar certain that I was going to leave there with him. I had already called my children and said, "You can wait for us. We're coming. Didn't you set your watch?" I told my children, my family, "No, we're going to arrive safely. You can wait, and I'll be back with him." And the doctor performed the surgery, and the doctor came to me and said, just like this, he called me over, started crying, and said, "I can't believe it. No, I had an experience." The doctor told me that he had a very powerful experience with God. He said, "I've never cared for a patient like this, who underwent so much surgery and didn't die. And I couldn't believe I was going to tell you, God, go away. I was being discharged." And he started crying. And he discharged me and said, "Go home and tell whoever you want, because if God exists, I believe because of what he did in your lives." He closed his belly. He has a life with God today.
I thank God. And her that went to the altar. I didn't even know it was an altar. Today I know it's God. I didn't know. I thought God was just anyone. But no, God is God. Thankfully, God is our hero. God is everything in my life.
If I hadn't had an encounter with God, I wouldn't have endured half of it. That's where the importance of having the Holy Spirit comes in. Because every moment the doctor gave me the news, the time I spent there, what person, without God, can endure being in a hospital? Not even for a year. For a year, because I left home, left my children, my young children, and stayed there taking care of him and constantly receiving bad news. And I didn't need to take controlled medication. I didn't need to be calling everyone and saying he's going to die. I'm desperate that he's going to die. Everyone was outside. The people who should have comforted me, they were desperate. They felt sorry for me, saying, "Oh, poor thing. What are you going to do now with 2 children? This man you found is very problematic. He's going to leave you with problems to solve. What are you going to do now?" And my life was on the altar and there was no poor thing about it. And I clung to the word that God said. I say weak, I am strong, and I kept using that word. I am strong. God chose me because he has a purpose and he didn't give me his spirit to keep complaining. He gave me his spirit to move forward. So, whatever I have to go through, I will go through it. And I did. Today, he and I talk every day. We say that the way he was, if God hadn't allowed this, he wouldn't have converted. It was necessary for him to go through this. So, God allowed it to win his soul, to save him. So, today we see that God on the altar owes nothing to anyone, and we all returned in peace, happy.
I am at peace with God. May God bless us all.
It was God at the altar who resolved my life and his.